This is the ZNS Network, providing radio and high-definition television services for the entire Bahamas. ZNS Network is operated by the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. It is located at Harcourt Rusty Bethel Drive, Centerville, Nassau. Our programming is designed to inform, educate, and entertain. We invite you to join us.
The following is the preamble of the Constitution of the Bahamas, which was made on June 20th, 1973, and came into operation July 10th, 1973.
Whereas 481 years ago, the rediscovery of this family of islands, rocks and keys, heralded the rebirth of the New World. And whereas the people of this family of islands, recognizing that the preservation of their freedom will be guaranteed by a national commitment to self-discipline, industry, loyalty, unity, and an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. Now, know we therefore, we the inheritors of and successors to this family of islands, recognizing the supremacy of God and believing in the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual, do hereby proclaim in solemn praise the establishment of a free and democratic sovereign nation, founded on spiritual values, and in which no man, woman, or child shall ever be slave or bondsman to anyone, or their labor exploited, or their lives frustrated by deprivation, and do hereby provide by these articles for the indivisible unity and creation under God of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
The pandemic is not over. I ask you to stay disciplined, stay physically distant as much as possible.
I would like to see the churches open as quickly as possible, but I'm guided by the health professionals.
Bahamas Air, like any of the other businesses in the Bahamas and really any of the other airlines around the world, have been impacted simply because the airline did not fly, and we didn't truly do any significant amount of flying.
Progress made in the fight against COVID. The Prime Minister clues in on the reopening of churches, and COVID leaves Bahamas Air challenged. Good morning, everyone. I'm Akush Lopinder, and this is your morning edition. Compliance still a problem in fighting the pandemic. The country's COVID-19 response coordinator, Dr. Mercelyn Dow-Regis, says health officials have still not been able to find a number of people in self-quarantine.
We have their names, but we don't have the contact numbers, the telephone numbers for them. And that has been the challenge. And it still hovers between 13 and 15.
His comments come on the heels of law enforcement officials tracking down the latest COVID case. And you may recall Hubcat Solution has been contracted to provide a 24-hour monitoring service for those in self-isolation.
We've completed the training in New Providence. We should have completed the training in Grand Bahama. Probably Dr. Bartlett can speak to that. And we hope to go live on Monday.
Dr. Dow-Regis also revealing at the time that there are more than 3,000 test kits in hand, but that this is just a component of the overall PCR testing.
Although we have 3,000 tests on hand, we have fewer than 2,000 extraction kits, and we're trying to get more. We do have adequate supplies of the other components for the PCR testing. We will always plan to have a reserve for acutely ill, symptomatic, or suspect cases. So we must balance our outreach community testing, holding a reserve. So that is how we prioritize the community-based testing. And we must test all contacts as well.
That said, a coronavirus test that returns results in just 20 minutes is trialed in the UK. Now, Director of the National HIV/AIDS and Infectious Disease Program, Dr. Nakia Forbes, admits a fast, accurate test is what's needed. But here's what she says must be considered.
How good is the test? Does the test detect disease when it's there? And does it correctly identify when disease is not there? There are tests, such as the PCR test. There are some platforms where test results can be available within an hour. We are looking into that. On the other hand, there are other faster tests that are serological tests, and up to this week there was a caution that one very well-known brand was not performing as well as we thought it would. However, you're absolutely correct. The key to moving forward in this new COVID-19 world is having a test that can identify disease accurately and quickly. We want to get there.
Dr. Dow Regis also touched on the current status of Bimini's 2-week lockdown. Residents there got the opportunity to voice their concerns during a virtual town hall meeting last evening. Another scheduled to take place on May 28th.
Local government officials have confirmed that the community has sufficient food and supplies for the lockdown period. Report is that residents are sheltering in place, and further, in association with Dr. Pamela Ellis-Mills and a team from New Providence, their psychological needs are being supported. Presently, the mood in Bimini is calm, and based on reports, residents appear to be adhering to the preventative measures established by the Ministry of Health. Residents of Bimini are taking advantage of virtual technology to stay connected. This week, they were engaged in a number of activities via Zoom, including spiritual devotions, workouts, and skill-building exercises.
Now, strangely, a closer look at COVID cases shows that the highest number is in the 40 to 59 age bracket and not the 80 and over population.
This national profile is different than the global presentation, which show that the greatest number of COVID-19 cases are in the elderly. I'd like to take this moment to commend the nursing home operators who are enforcing the COVID-19 containment and mitigation policies set out by the Ministry of Health, which include visitor restrictions, infection prevention and control measures, training of their workers in infection control, environmental sanitation, a moratorium on readmissions, and government measures to protect the elderly population, including weekend lockdowns.
Overall, the Bahamas is said to be making significant progress. This given the number of COVID cases, the fact that there's been no COVID deaths in 3 weeks, the number of recovered cases, and the decrease in hospital and ICU admissions. Despite the inroads, Dr. Dow Regis reminded the public that the pandemic is not over.
More than 330,000 people have died around the world from COVID-19. I ask you to stay disciplined, stay physically distant as much as possible, and continue to protect your elders. In doing so, we can further progress through the opening up phases and return to a greater sense of normalcy.
Still to come, the Prime Minister looking forward to the resumption of church services during Phase 2 of the government's measured plan for reopening the economy. That story and more when the Morning Edition returns.
you are when you download the new ZNS app. Watch our live channel to keep up with what's going on in the nation. News updates, we've got you covered. Tune into our radio stations with just a swipe. On the road, on the go, we're here with you. Available for download on the App Store and the Google Play Store.
Let's stay COVID-free. Remember the 3 S's. Sanitize, social distance, and stay inside.
Andros is the #1 bone fishing destination on our planet. Sports fishermen visit our flats every year to participate in one of the most fulfilling outdoor activities known to man, fly fishing. And guess what? It's 100% sustainable. Without areas like the west side of Andros, sustaining this industry would be absolutely impossible. So let's take care of nature, and nature will take care of us.
What I love most about working for the Bahamas tonight is that we don't only focus on New Providence. We cover the entire Bahamas. We have a team here in the Northern Bahamas that is ready to bring you the stories, the people, and the news that matter to you. From point A to Z, and covering hurricanes to elections and everything in between.
Our marine resources were once considered inexhaustible. Conch and reef fish like grouper were abundant everywhere, and it seemed as if the lobster catch would rise forever. But today, there is a downward trend that affects everyone. Researchers say we can reverse the trend by protecting more marine habitats. And the good news is that most Bahamians strongly support efforts to halt further decline. Tripling the size of our network of marine parks will mean more fish and conch for everyone, now and for the future, as well as more recreational and ecotourism opportunities. Today, only 10% of our waters are protected. Surveys show that most Bahamians consider protection of our marine environment to be a top national priority. More protection means more benefits for everyone, now and in the future. It's a win-win-win strategy for the economy, for Bahamians, and for nature. Protect our sea, protect our way of life, protect the Bahamas. See the future. Visit Bahamas Protected on Facebook to learn more about marine protected areas.
The Ministry of Health wishes to advise members of the public that prevention is key during this flu season. Practicing good cough hygiene can make the difference between you and your loved ones getting the flu or spreading the influenza virus. Good cough hygiene habits include covering your mouth and nose with a tissue when coughing or sneezing, and proper disposal of the tissue in a trash bin. Coughing or sneezing into your upper sleeve near your inner elbow and not your hands when a tissue is not available. Avoiding the use of handkerchiefs and towels as they hold germs, becoming a nest for the virus. And frequently washing your hands with soap and water, which is listed as one of the most important steps you can take to avoid getting sick and passing the virus on to others. If you have any questions about how to practice good cough hygiene to avoid catching or spreading the flu, contact your nearest community clinic or the Health Education Division at the Ministry of Health. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health in partnership with the Public Hospitals Authority.
Well, phase 2 of the government's measured plan for reopening the economy includes resuming worship services, but that's with strict social distancing protocols and wearing masks. Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, said in his exclusive interview with our news team this week that he is looking forward to that.
I believe there are different components of healing. There's healing, as we know, in terms of health. There's economic healing. But most importantly, there's spiritual healing. And I would like to see the churches open as quickly as possible. But I'm guided by the health professionals. I'm in discussion with the health professionals because if the certain family islands have been liberated or freed, then the question should be asked, why why shouldn't the church likewise be included in that? So I'm in discussion with that, and with respect to the churches and those given from the islands, of course, they must follow social distancing and whatever else, and the protocols. The Christian Council President, Bishop Fernanda, has been providing us with drafts of their protocols and the way forward, and those protocols have been sent to health, and I'm hoping that we can have some tweaking, amendments, etc., so at least those so-called sterile islands would be able to commence their spiritual healing.
Still, the opening of churches could pose some problems, so says Senior Pastor of Golden Gates World Outreach Ministries, Bishop Ross Davis, who reasons that nowhere in the world can large churches make it with just 10 people. Bishop Davis is referring to the restricted number to which the Prime Minister has reduced church gatherings in a bid to keep COVID-19 infections at a minimum.
10 persons can do it. 10 persons, not even the usher board. 10 persons. What about the choir? And we are used to fellowship, and so when we're given not to hold hands or this cut the church right out, because we're used to fellowship. We're used to praying with one another, and so that cuts us out right away.
Secondly, he says the church needs financing.
Where's the finance coming from when everyone is locked down and there isn't any money, the rest of it? So we are financially struck, and so there you go again. And so we need funds, and it's not just like it used to be. You know, I don't know. Some people are saying this is the end. All I know, and all I believe, is that this is a different way of doing church, and it's not what we're used to.
Meantime, registration for inter-island travel has also received a significant interest. COVID-19 Task Force member Dr. Jillian Bartlett explains.
As of yesterday, we would have had over 900, and today we are well over 1,000 in queries. That's persons seeking questions on travel. We'll have to go through the queries to see how much of them are actually applied for inter-island. But as of to date, it's growing. At South Beach Clinic yesterday, there were about 17 persons cleared and screened from the disaster authority that needed to get into Abaco this morning for travel. So they were screened at South Beach and processed and allowed to travel.
The travel market hit hard by COVID-19. Airlines around the world are suffering tremendous setbacks. On the home front, the national airline is no different. Betty Thompson-Moss takes a look at COVID's grip on Bahamas Air.
The national airline feeling the pinch of COVID-19. With border closure and airlines grounded, Bahamas Air also suffered significant financial loss. Managing Director Tracy Cooper says this amounts to millions of dollars in the red.
The airline did not fly, and we didn't truly do any significant amount of flying from March up to now. And but the airline, we have around 600 staff members, and we had continued to carry the salaries of those staff and the staff emoluments. Outside of that, we also have our regular rents and to be paid to all of the facilities. They're static costs if we fly or not of around $3 million a month. And so, as you could imagine, we would have racked up easily, another $7-8 million in expenses just sitting down and not doing anything. For an airline that kind of operate on our own means and with government assistance, that is only providing a heavier burden on the airline.
That burden can linger for quite a bit. With much uncertainty on the new shape of the travel market post-COVID-19, Cooper says the airline is still likely to see a further downturn in revenue.
We have predicted at least a 15 to 20% reduction in revenue streams because of suppressed demand. And so we will have to govern ourselves accordingly. Now, we don't foresee for the immediate future in any staff reduction. We'll just continue what we have in the past, which is trying to attrition out on a regular basis, and if need be, probably even a enhanced attrition process. But we don't foresee where, for right now, where we'll be doing staff reduction.
With the pandemic still lingering, exactly what would the new travel stipulations demand from the national airline?
We were carrying out some measures even pre-COVID-19 shutdown. We had already started to do disinfecting of the aircraft on a regular basis. Obviously enhanced cleaning due to the effect of the virus. And those measures will continue. Post-19, Bahamas Air, as with all other service providers, will require the passenger to have on a face protection mask. We will also have our crew in protective masks as well as gloves. So everybody on the airplane is going to have to be protected upright, have some semblance of PPE on the aircraft. We will try to reduce our catering effect on the plane simply because we don't want to give out unnecessary fluids that will then have the possibility of persons having to remove their protective mask. So that's going to be a little different. When you get to the airport, there are going to be some measures as well. Just to get into the airport, again, you'll have to have a mask on. I believe at the airports here in Nassau, there'll be some plexiglass on the counters that will separate the customer from the agents.
As the national flag carrier prepares for the market's rebound, the managing director says Bahamas Air is prepared to facilitate any charter request, but those flights must have the proper authorization. For the morning edition, I'm Betty Thompson-Moss.
Well, just yesterday, Bahamas Air was contracted to repatriate just under 100 Bahamians out of South Florida. It was the second in a series of such flights during COVID-19 following the closure of the border. On Saturday, Bahamas Air is expected to fly just over 100 Bahamians out of Fort Lauderdale. Some of those passengers are expected to stop in Grand Bahama. Another local airline experiencing significant loss after they were grounded amid the global COVID-19 outbreak. Cleopatra Murphy explains what it could mean for that company's future. The
local aviation industry has taken a major financial hit as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, with one airline operator stating his company has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 2 months the country has been closed to international and domestic travel. Prime Minister the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis announced during a national address on Sunday that government is eyeing a July 1st resumption of commercial travel into and throughout the country. However, Lee Air Charter Manager Larry Brown says if it extends beyond that, the airline may have to cut staff.
I hope we don't have to go in a phase where we have to lay off any employees. We're trying not to, desperately trying not to. But, it's not easy operating in this airport. It's very expensive. And those things will affect us. We're hoping that NAD would do things like ease up on some of the fees to stimulate this economy. but we're still waiting to see.
Lee Air maintains a staff of 29, but suspended operations on March 23rd as a result of the emergency COVID-19 orders. As of now, Brown says he plans to bring those employees back once flights fully resume. The sector has gotten closer to a full opening after the Prime Minister announced that residents can resume inter-island travel by plane and boat to islands that have been open to commercial activity, and passengers receive a COVID-19 travel authorization card. Brown says airline operators need greater clarity.
We're not quite clear on how to proceed, with the exception of our understanding that we can take people to the island, but they have to have a health card from a physician, I think approved medical physician of MBC, and we can bring people to Nassau. They don't need to have a health card from those islands that he deemed that is open. If that's the case, then I just need clarification if we can do that without calling in to the authorities that we had done before, or that we still have to call in the authorities to do that.
Brown says he, like many airline operators, is concerned about how the industry will operate in the future. He says while air travel has been suspended, in the interim, the airline has been preparing its fleet of 4 for when business resumes.
Recently, we've been conducting a lot of preventive maintenance stuff. We have some maintenance program that comes with the aircraft that we operate, and we are doing those things, running the engines, doing engine wash. We flew them the other day. Just to make sure that whenever we start to operate, we can still operate safely.
Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Coming up, Abaco still trying to rebound from the Hurricane Dorian despite the COVID-19 setbacks. You're watching The Morning Edition.
You got to make the best of what you have in front of you. And that's some of our problems. We don't know how to make the best of what we've got. You keep on looking out the window and seeing something better. And you think if you get that, that's what's going to make your, oh Lord, this is what's going to make your life better. But I need to tell you, you need to make the best of who you are.
Join us this and every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. for Faith Touch on ZNS TV 13.
Join us each week for Music and the Spoken Word, featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcast in the world, celebrating over 90 years on the air. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, patriotic, classical, and contemporary music, and a timely, inspiring message. Music and the Spoken Word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Nature-based tourism supplies almost $50 million in revenue for Androsians every year. These priceless resources will continue to provide renewable benefits for thousands of people for years to come, as long as we take long-term action to preserve what's rightfully ours. The natural environment has played a vital role in our culture and economy for generations. Let's take care of nature, and nature will take care of us.
Promotions on the way for the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and that's as early as today. Newly minted RBDF Commodore Raymond King confirming as much yesterday on the sidelines of his handover ceremony at the Coral Harbor Base. King assumes the top post from Tellus Bethel.
The numbers, I wish not to preempt and give the numbers at this time, but just allow the service members to enjoy the service members who are more than deserving, who would have earned the right to be advanced and promoted. And I don't want to be too preemptive, but they will get something that is worthy. And what you will find is that you may look at the numbers at a snapshot and say, boy, that number looks a bit large. But when you consider the delay, if you take 3 years between a promotion exercise and you have a promotion exercise, say 600 persons, it only works out to an average of about 200 persons per year.
The Commodore says he's also proposed to the government biannual RBDF promotion exercises.
When I first joined in 1987, we used to have promotions in April and November. They may have been smaller, but they provide considerable incentives for persons, and then persons were able to preserve their seniority, as opposed to waiting several years and everyone getting the same seniority and just collapsing it. Also, the Honorable Minister spoke of moving away from these anticipated promotions before Independence Day, the ones before elections. As persons retire and billets and appointments become available, he's receptive to recommendations being made year-round to fill critical billets, as opposed to waiting on these anticipated large-scale promotions. So he's seeking to move away from this, promote persons as they're needed to fill critical billets, and sending at a minimum of 2 promotions, smaller ones, more manageable, more economical annually.
The Emergency Powers COVID-19 Ecumenical Service for Hurricane Dorian issued last evening. The order notes that no more than 25 officiants, attendees, and laborers can attend today's ecumenical service in Abaco. Further, everyone attending the event must wear a mask and practice social distancing. Antoine Smith spoke to a resident who gives some insight on preparations for that service.
Final preparations being made.
The graves are adequate in my estimation.
To later rest the remains of 55 loved ones who lost their lives during Hurricane Dorian. Originally postponed, according to the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, due to COVID-19, a final interment is to be held in Central Pines, Abaco on Friday. Still, it's something that many Abaconians and Bahamians countrywide cannot fathom. Pastor Silbert Mills, president of an Abaco Burial Society, paints us a picture.
From what I'm seeing, this is prepared as good as any grave that I've ever seen prepared in Abaco, as far as being able to accommodate the caskets and so the remains will be properly sealed, all of them out of concrete, like what we in Abaco have all moved to, the concrete slab graves.
Here, the remains, which sat in a trailer on the island for almost 8 months, will be given a proper funeral. It's a matter of much contention for Dorian survivors who feel like the wait has been too long and too traumatic. And while the service is meant to be the end of a painful chapter for many, Mills says that simply is not the case.
There are some family members who are very close who would wish that certain things had happened. From what I'm hearing about notification of this, and that they wish they would have had more time. But this seems to be not bringing kind of closure that the families was expecting.
The DRA released a statement on Thursday regarding the proceedings, reading in part that despite the burials, forensic DNA sampling for the victims is ongoing. The statement went on to read that individual graves will be numbered for proper identification so that family members can properly memorialize their loved ones when forensic exercises are finally done. The service will be overseen by members of the Abaco clergy. Pastor Silbert Mills, who lost his god sister and a friend during the storm, will be in attendance.
Where 55 persons were laid to rest. I don't think anywhere in the country. There is no script that you can follow. There is no, I'm doing this right and you're doing this wrong. The government and those who are involved have to make this up as they go along. People are feeling as though, well, this one is doing it right and that one is doing it wrong. Well, we've never had to do this.
Antoinette Smith, ZNS Network News.
Well, that ecumenical service takes place at 10 this morning. Meanwhile, North Abaco MP the Honorable Darren Henfield says appeals from Abaconians to return home are increasing as construction works accelerate, but that the COVID-19 conditions are, like many other things, slowing things down. He's, however, optimistic the island will optimistic about the island's prospects following its pounding from Hurricane Dorian last September.
I get calls from people every day telling me that they want to go home. In this COVID environment, we have to be very careful about how we allow people to go to COVID-free islands. And the cleanup is going well. Of course, the recovery for people who are undone, as my people are, is never quick enough. And so there's always room for more improvement. But I think we have been making steady progress. There's a lot of construction activity in Abaco. People have been assisted by the authority, which is now beginning to give them vouchers, and we're beginning to see the recovery process happening very slow. But I'm very proud of Abaconians. We are a very resilient people. I think we've done well, but the fight goes on.
Well, our pastoral motivation brought to us this Friday by Dr. Clement M. Neely, Senior Pastor of the Word Church.
And I want to bring you a word of empowerment and encouragement today from Psalm 125, verse 1. The word says, "They that trust in the Lord shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abides forever." I want to encourage you today to trust in the Lord. In the midst of this crisis, in the midst of this pandemic, we have a privilege to trust in the Lord. We can, first of all, we can trust in God's power, his sovereign power. God is all powerful. This situation is nothing compared to the great power and the awesome might of our God. Then we can trust in his sovereign love. I want to encourage you today, oh, how he loves you and me. Then we can trust God's sovereign will. His will never expose you to something that his power and his grace cannot sustain you in the midst of. So we are in a crisis, but we're going to know who Christ is in this crisis. I encourage you to continue to trust in the Lord. He's going to bring you out. I know he will. Yes, he will. So I want to encourage you today. Be blessed. Be strong in the Lord. Have a wonderful day. God bless.
Corona can't hold me. Can't no sickness or an emergency, Nassau, Bahamas. Corona cannot hold us down.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
School is closed, but not for vacation. The global pandemic, COVID-19, continues to spread worldwide. Here's what you can do to keep yourself safe. If you have a headache, runny nose, sneeze, or cough, stay at home until you feel better. When you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth or nose with a bent elbow and dispose of the used tissue immediately. If symptoms persist, call the COVID-19 hotline at 376-9350 or 376-9387. Remember, it's safer and smarter.
This public service announcement was brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Well, for right now, the kids are home all day, and it seems that lunch and snack times are constant. Well, our Charles Fisher spoke with a few parents on just how they're adjusting to this new way of life and the expense that comes along with it.
With the kids home right now, most parents may be saying they are eating us out of a house and home. Then they are home all day on internet and watching television. So the question comes up, is it cheaper to have them in school or home? Speaking to various persons who some wish not to appear on camera, had this to say.
There's a cost that's involved with being at home, and that cost it has to do a whole lot with more consumption of electricity, more consumption of water, more consumption of natural resources, and more consumption of food. And you add that to the fact that getting these things are more and more difficult to do, and no one is working, it brings around an environment where we consume more and we spend less, and because we don't have more to spend.
This person went on to say that the best option right now is to be in school, and there's a reason why.
And they say the idle hands are the devil's tools, and if they are idle for a very long time, they tend to get themselves more involved in trouble. I've got individuals across the street who, to this day, has done nothing on the internet. They haven't done any of their schoolwork at all. They say they don't have access to it, but yet they have access to YouTube and all these different things, but they don't have access to get in and do their schoolwork. Parents aren't even trying to push them even further to go and do this because they're too much consumed. They're too consumed with trying to supply their basic needs.
This grandmother also feeling the pinch.
It is expensive keeping them home, because home you got to be feeding them on the hour and hour. But the school, they eat their lunch and break, and that's it. I don't have no baby kids. I have grown children. But still, me, I like it too, and I got to eat.
Abaco native is in transition. A double dose.
For me, it is basically harder because being a victim of Hurricane Dorian and also having this on us, it's worse because it's a hustle. With me, I came with my one and my brothers and my sisters. So you got all ages, but at the same time, you got needs you got to meet, so you got to go from Red Cross, you got to take it from this, you got to take it from that. Some are understanding and some are not. And when you're talking about 15-year-olds or 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, how could you tell a child, okay, that's enough? You just have to do what you do.
For the Morning Edition, I'm Charles Fisher.
Well, a local union stepping up to assist those on the front line of COVID-19. The Bahamas Public Services Union Power Team is providing breakfast to those workers this morning. Our Lloyd Allen is there.
Well, good morning, Makusha, and good morning, Bahamas. Of course, it's a great start to the week. EMS personnel being recognized during the official EMS week. And today, the Bahamas Public Service Union is making their presence felt by offering a power breakfast to this group of powerful workers who have been on the front line of this COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking with us to talk about this initiative is Leotha Coakley. I think I got the name correct.
wrong. Even what you're saying is all wrong.
She's going to talk a bit about this effort this morning. Give us your name, your position, please.
Hi. Good morning, Lloyd. This morning, my name is Leotha Colby, and I'm running for General Secretary with the POWER team. POWER means people organizing with effective results. And this morning, we just want to recognize the staff at the EMS department with breakfast this morning, because in this week, they're celebrating International EMS Week. So we take the time out to show our appreciation as them being the first frontliners or first responders for this pandemic, and not only the pandemic, internationally and in the world, they are the first responders when it comes to any emergency. So this morning, we just want to take this time out, appreciate them, because they are celebrating International EMS Week and with breakfast.
And so, of course, several of those representatives are here this morning. We have one of their senior managers here speaking about this initiative as well. This is Lavada Adderley. Ms. Adderley, talk about how important this initiative is this morning in recognizing these workers during this important week.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. EMS worldwide is recognized as frontliners, first responders, and we really, this week, we want to show our appreciation, our body of EMS workers, unified and together, especially during this pandemic of COVID, how we respond diligently, we work tirelessly, bringing in persons, and also unified. So this week, we really celebrate EMS Week, and thanks to the POWER team, who has recognized us also, along with many other business owners who have recognized us, who have provided us with lunch, mostly during this week. Basically, we cannot do much because of the COVID pandemic. However, we really appreciate all of those business owners who have come forth, gave us lunch during the week of this week, along with the prior weeks, and we appreciate them and say thanks.
And of course, talk to us, Mr. Wilson. You're Vice President for the union. Talk to us about what this breakfast looks like this morning.
All right. So I'm running for the Executive Vice President. My name is Harrison Wilson. The breakfast we have is a nice hot breakfast, which consists of chicken sauce, turkey sauce. We also have a fruit platter, and we have a Danish platter that will be coming here. And we just want to rejuvenate. We know how hard they work for us in the country of the Bahamas. And also, we also have our team based in Freeport. They're actually going to have a power lunch over there.
All right, well, that sounds good. So workers, how do you guys feel about this?
Great.
Now, I know, of course, many persons are sitting home during this whole pandemic, of course, and have seen you guys on the front line doing a hard work. And so for them, we want to say thank you. And of course, for the nation, we say thank you. Hats off to you guys, all right? And so this morning, and so, of course, Makusha, this morning, a powerful group of people with a power breakfast being offered this morning for a powerful moment. Reporting here from Collins Avenue this morning for the morning edition, Lloyd Allen, ZNS Network News.
Well, thanks, Lloyd. It's now time for a little workout, and we turn to your Friday session with Natasha Brown.
Hi, good morning. It is downtown, and it is all about beast mentality this morning. I've got a chair and a pillow workout for us. Let's get started. Go ahead and bring the right heel to the butt, and we're holding each stretch for about 5 seconds for the sake of time. I want to make sure I get all the exercises in and leave you with a good variety for the weekend switch. Left heel comes in. Always remember, it is very important to stretch at the beginning, during, and after your workout. Take your right foot on top of the left thigh, sit back into it so that you can open up the glutes. That opens up your lower back. Switch. Right, left foot on top, sit back into it. Great. Take the right hand over the head. Let's get that upper body stretch in. And our first exercise, we're going to start with chair circles, yes. Switch. We're going to raise the leg and take it over the chair for about 10 reps. You want to do 30 in total with everything that we will do this morning. And of course, you want to do your 4 sets. Relax. Let's start off. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's move the chair out of the way. Take the pillow, place it down onto the floor. Now we've got 10 lateral hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Ready? Let's take it to the floor with abdominals. Place the pillow literally in between the feet. Extend the hands all the way behind the head. Allow the pillow to come up to meet the hands. Lower the feet and take the pillow down. Bring them back together. So we've got 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, final 1, and 5. You want to be doing 25 reps with this particular one. Okay, our next exercise, we're going to take you to the chair. Let's go ahead. Now you want to be able to position the chair where it's going to sustain you and your legs. Make sure you're able to allow the core to rest on the chair comfortably and you have good support to hold it. Allow the knees to come all the way down to the floor and then extend all the way out to the back. Bring it in. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Awesome. You want to be doing 25 reps with these. Let's move the chair out of the way. Find the pillow again. Final exercise in the morning. This is a really good back exercise. So as you lie down, you want to hold the pillow ahead of you. You want to come into a Superman position. Then you want to take the pillow outside and around at the back. Bring it back forward. Now switch to the opposite hand, bringing it here. Make sure you're keeping your hands and your feet all the way extended, and then you alternate. Again, you want to be doing 15 per side as you bring each arm all the way around. Last one. Great. There you have it. Okay. Oh, that feels very good on the back. Monday starts the new week. Again, beast mode. That's us. So we will be right back to start the week off next Monday. Until next time, I am downtown Natasha Brown, keeping you healthy, fit, and energized. The secret of our health lies in our daily routine and what we put in our mouths. I am the ultimate me.
The Dixon Diamond Hill Lighthouse in San Salvador to let you know that marine protected areas make dollars and cents. A well-designed and managed network of protected areas can generate income for nearby communities. From MPA managers to lodges to eco-tours, there is money to be made.
Healthy marine ecosystems help to protect our islands from climate change and other impacts that we cannot control. Healthy coral reefs help to break down big waves, and mangroves absorb storm surge and help to protect our coastline.
Older and larger fish tend to carry more and healthier eggs than younger fish. Fish replenishment areas will allow fish to grow bigger and ensure that we have more fish now and in the future.
In our replenishment area, fish are free to grow and reproduce. As their populations increase, more fish will spill over into other areas where fishermen can increase their catch and their income.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of marine protected areas on my island.
I support the establishment of a marine protected area on my island, and you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
And you should too.
See the future with Bahamas Protected.
When a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, it is extremely important to be prepared and know just what to do. Stay informed about the storm's path by listening to the radio or television for hurricane progress reports. Check emergency food and household supplies. Be sure you have extra batteries for flashlights and radios. Bring in outdoor items like lawn furniture and garden tools. Anchor objects that cannot be brought inside. Secure buildings by closing and boarding up windows. Remove outside antennas and satellite dishes. Turn refrigerators and freezers to the coldest settings, opening only when absolutely necessary and closing quickly. Purchase ice and store it in an ice chest. Keep drinking water in clean jugs and bottles. Clean your bathtub with bleach and fill it with water for washing and flushing, not for drinking, making sure to keep the bathroom door closed so that small children cannot access the filled tub. Do not go out to videotape or take photos of the storm. Take pictures from inside where it is safe and dry. There is no harm in being overly cautious where a hurricane is concerned. It is truly better to be safe than sorry. This public service announcement has been brought to you by the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas in conjunction with the National Emergency Management Agency.
This weather report is sponsored by Bank of the Bahamas, the bank of solutions.
Remember to stay tuned to the ZNS Network, your best choice for local, regional, and international COVID-19 coverage. We're the only station providing you with live radio and television updates throughout the day, giving you up-to-the-minute information. Our coverage continues at 10 on radio and then on the television network. For the morning edition, I'm Makushla Pinder. Good morning, everyone.
Is 11. They say we living in a dark, dark world, but I tell them say all good don't go to heaven. Heaven, sweat, blood and tears, toiling all day. Watch as you grow, friends and family drift away. Why don't you stop? Continue to fight. Forgive them, peace and love, and everything will be all right. Say.
The Ministry of Health is working to ensure the safety of the Bahamian people.
Help us minimize the risk that coronavirus poses to citizens, residents, and visitors by following these 5 easy steps. Step 1. Wet your hands with clean water, apply soap and lather for 20 seconds by rubbing them together. Include the top of your hands between your fingers and under your fingernails. Rinse your hands under clean water, then dry them with a paper towel or air dry them. Remember to wash your hands before and after eating, preparing a meal, changing a diaper, or caring for the sick, and always after using the bathroom, touching money, shaking hands, or taking out the trash. Step 2. Cough and sneeze in your elbow or upper sleeve, not in your hands, not in the air. Or you can cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Put your used tissue in the trash bin when you're finished. Remember to wash your hands with soap and clean water after you cough or sneeze. Also, remember never to spit on the ground, roads, or in open spaces. Step 3. Ensure that raw meat is properly handled and cooked thoroughly. Step 4. Avoid sharing drinking glasses, eating utensils like spoons and forks, or sharing personal items such as toothbrushes and towels. Germs can live on surfaces we touch, so wipe and disinfect surfaces where germs can live, and keep your surroundings clean. Step 5. Avoid close contact with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing. Should you or anyone you know feel that you have been exposed to the coronavirus, contact the civil.
Brought to you by Open System Technology and Alive.